Obviously, we're not doing this just for the money, but in a sport where there is no money, enough money to eat would be fucking nice.
The Craig Jones Invitational. You're going head-to-head with the ADCC.
ADCC's existed for over 20 years, but no increase in grappler pay. I decided to put our own event on. So we're trying to disrupt the industry to compensate the athletes well and to raise some money for charity along the way.
So I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the news lately, but things in professional grappling are about to change. Over 3 months, the Craig Jones Invitational has gone from kind of like a jokey reference to actually being a legitimate thing that is going to take place and is going up directly against ADCC. Now I've seen on Reddit and all over the internet grappling community, a lot of people just kind of haven't been 100% clear on what's going on, what the timeline has been, what is actually going to happen with CJI. And I know that there's a lot of people in the UFC, MMA audience who really don't know what's happening. And I think it is worth putting all of the facts together as best we can at this point to try and answer some of those questions. Let's start at the kickoff, which was 3 months ago. Craig uploaded a video to the B Team YouTube channel because people were asking whether or not he was going to do ADCC in 2024. And this was kind of the first time that Craig addressed his personal reasons for not being sure if he was going to compete.
Let me explain why I'm on the fence about even participating in this ADCC. The first one I did was 2015. So you win 4 matches against the world's best grapplers, you get $10,000. 2024, already over 10,000 tickets sold. You win 4 matches, you get $10,000 again. So again, the sport is growing. Guys, I make more money selling dick pills. I make more money doing ad reads on a podcast. I make more money doing seminars. I believe compensation where compensation is due. Prize money should match the growth of the sport.
At this point, Craig isn't really rallying against ADCC. He's just sort of pointing out that, hey, for me personally, a guy who, has income streams outside of competition, is it worth me doing this massive training camp and cutting weight just to go in there and possibly win $10,000? And he does give Mo Jassim, the promoter of ADCC, props for crushing the promotion and growing the sport, but he points out that the prize money has not raised at all despite the massive amount of growth in ticket sales, in streaming right prices, and viewership across the last 20 odd years. So let's look a little bit deeper at ADCC itself. As most of you will know, ADCC is kind of looked at as the Olympics or the World Championships of no-gi grappling. It's created by Sheikh Tahnoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who is the son of the former UAE president. He's part of the ruling family of the United Arab Emirates, which basically means that ADCC is funded by a nation state with basically unlimited wealth, right? Sheikh Tahnoon is the chairman of a holding company that's worth 110 billion US dollars. So ADCC really was not created in order to create profit. This is the hobby of a man who is inhumanly rich. It's not designed to make money. Between 2015 and now, ADCC has grown exponentially in production value and venue size. It's now set to be held at the T-Mobile Arena, a 20,000 seater, and as of this recording, it's not sold out, but obviously this is going to be the highest cost for an arena that ADCC has ever had to pay. The streaming rights for ADCC have historically gone to FloSports. A lot of the Jiu-Jitsu community has some issues with Flo for being extremely expensive. You have to sign up for a yearly cost of about $150 a year just to watch ADCC. You can't purchase like an ADCC only package. Now for 2024, it was announced at one point that ADCC had agreed to deal with UFC Fight Pass, but then Flo swooped back in and made another offer, and it seems like it is going to be on Flo again, which means Flo had to up their streaming rights pay to ADCC substantially, and most people believe it's going to be well more than $1 million they paid for ADCC. Now, like Craig says, the grand prize for your weight division in ADCC is $10,000. Second place gets $5K, third place gets $3,000, and for women is even lower, with the champions only getting $6,000, which is shameful. Now, since releasing that video discussing why he may or may not compete at ADCC, Craig has gone big on philanthropic stuff. We know he's a jokester, kind of a meme lord, but recently he's headed to the Ukraine to do seminars with proceeds going to Ukrainian soldiers on the front line. He's headed to Southeast Asia, fed 600 kids in the Philippines in areas hit hardest by the landslide disasters there.
Really, this is some of the most rewarding stuff I've ever done in my career. I'm mostly focused as being an athlete, traveling around and taking from communities, but when I travel around now, and I'm able to do charity work. It was amazing.
He's just clearly getting more and more into the charity side of stuff, and that is going to come into play with CJI too. We'll talk about that in a little minute. In response to his issues with ADCC, Craig announced the Craig Jones Invitational, which is running on the same weekend as ADCC 2024, and with it he announced that all the athletes will be getting show money of $10,001 to compete. So just by showing up, you're instantly getting more than if you win your division at ADCC, and the grand prize, of course, in your bracket will be $1 million US. At first, Craig has announced 2 brackets of 16 athletes, over 80 kilos and under 80 kilos, and ADCC has started to lose fighters.
Nicky Rada's entering in the Craig Jones Invitational.
I am no longer doing ADCC.
But I'm going to be competing on the CJI Invitational.
I have officially withdrawn from ADCC so that I could compete in the CJI or Craig Jones Invitational.
So now we've got all that out of the way, let's answer some questions that I keep seeing on Reddit, on Instagram, on YouTube, everywhere. But before we do that, guys, I just want to say a quick thank you to X Martial for sponsoring this video. X Martial has a huge range of jiu-jitsu, apparel, rash guard, shorts, anything you need if you're a grappler or an MMA fighter. The guys at X Martial were kind enough to send me a couple bits and pieces I've been wearing in the gym, and of course, you know, I had to get the Jiu-Jitsu Until Death hoodie. And right now you can head over to their website, use the code Combat Arcade to get 10% off any order you make at X Martial. That's right. Combat Arcade at checkout, you get 10% off anything. Thanks again to X Martial for sponsoring this video. Number 1, who is taking part? Well, more and more athletes from ADCC are announcing every week that they're switching over, but at the time of recording, the list includes Nicky Rod, Nicky Ryan, and Joseph Chen from the B team, the Tackett brothers, Mason Fowler, Gabriel Hocha, former UFC middleweight champion Luke Rockhold, Roberto Jimenez, and Lucas Hulk Barbosa. Now, Fionn Davies has also announced that she will be competing. She pulled out of ADCC. Whether that's going to be in a super fight or in a women's division that Craig hasn't announced yet, I'm not sure. And Gabby Garcia is actually going to fight Craig Jones in a super fight, which is amazing. There are still many places to be filled, and Craig has invited every ADCC grappler over basically. So I think after Worlds finishes, we're gonna start seeing a lot more and more announcements. Number 2, will we see Gordon Ryan or any of Danaher's guys come over? Look, it's looking doubtful. Gordon is loyal to Mo Jassim and he hates Craig Jones. As much as 1 million would be huge for him or the likes of Nicholas Merigali, you know, Dan Manasoyu. And even though Craig has invited those guys, we probably aren't going to see them fighting in a tournament that has Craig Jones's name on the banner, just with all of the fallout from the Danaher Death Squad split, the New Wave versus B Team drama. I imagine it's not going to happen. Number 3, where is the money coming from? Now, this is the big question. At the moment, it isn't clear. The tournament's being put on by the Fair Fight Foundation, which it looks like is a charity organization created, at least in part, by Craig. They are actively looking for sponsors for super fights, but Craig claims to have the money already and even brought $1 million in cash on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Had to do some bad things for that.
Craig does keep posting odds for CJI that come from a crypto betting site called Shuffle. So it seems like the odds are some crypto bro, some crypto investment sort of situation is happening. And someone like that is willing to put down the money to get athletes paid and for a good cause with the charity. This is the most likely source of the money as we know right now, but there are a couple of other options. Obviously, Craig has a lot of contacts in the Middle East from doing seminars and such out there. So there's a possibility that there's some billionaire out there who's investing, and obviously Mark Zuckerberg, which would be hilarious, but is doubtful because Craig has trained with him. Number 4, where is it happening? What's the rule set? How do we watch it? It's going down to Las Vegas, 16th and 17th of August, the same city and overlapping days as ADCC 2024. Craig booked out the Thomas and Mack Center, which is where ADCC was last time, and he claims he got it for about a quarter of the cost that ADCC paid to get T-Mobile Arena. And obviously he's going to use the funds remaining to pay athletes. After Craig competed in karate combat, he grew to like the pit style with angled walls, which avoids the classic jiu-jitsu scenarios of either smashing into the judges table or flying off of an elevated platform 5 feet onto concrete. CJI will have pit walls for that reason. The rules are going to be much different to what we're used to in submission grappling, with a new 10-point must style open scoring system and MMA style rounds. Number 5, is this a sustainable long-term thing or just a one-off protest at ADCC? When you look at it on the surface, it does seem a losing venture. It's not for profit. There's ticket sales going to charity. You'd assume it's going to be a one-time thing, but Craig is adamant he wants to make this an annual thing. He says on Reddit, if some miss out this year, such as lighter weight men, and we really hope not women, we will eventually create something that takes care of all. Is this the end of ADCC? Absolutely not. ADCC is going to continue, and it probably won't even slow down. The most that will happen is that this year will be a slimmer talent pool and that Mo will have to bump the prize money up in order to compete with CJI moving forward. Look, it's been going for nearly 30 years. ADCC is going nowhere. It's really hard to pass up for the majority of these guys to just go over, be guaranteed more money than you would win, and then compete for even more money, the million on top of that. You have to remember, most of these guys aren't making Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan money selling instructionals, BJJ fanatics, going on seminars and world tours. Most of these guys are athletes in a sport that just does not pay well. And ADCC is just gonna have no choice moving forward but bump up the prize money, which is what Craig wanted at the end of the day. But guys, that's what we know so far. It is a win-win for Jiu-Jitsu. We're gonna have 2 massive tournaments going on at the same time of the year. One of them is gonna be free on YouTube. That's right, CJI is gonna be free to stream on YouTube. You don't even have to sign up anywhere else, which is probably the biggest barrier to entry for ADCC. These guys are going to be fighting for $1 million, so you know they're going to be fighting tooth and nail as well. All the proceeds are going to charity, and I cannot wait to see who else is going to commit to CJI. But yeah, that's all from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you don't know, Combat Arcade is a new and growing YouTube channel dedicated to looking at jiu-jitsu, grappling, and mixed martial arts. If you want to support the channel, you can go down in the description. You can click join and chuck me a couple of dollars for coffee. That'd be very much appreciated. Or you can head over to patreon.com/combatarcade. That would be fantastic. And if you do any of those things, of course, you will get a shout out after every video, just like these people. Klops Cop, Matt Weeman Eaton, Stu Mitchell, and Julian Seidenbush. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Remember, if you head over to X Martial, you can get yourself some snazzy jiu-jitsu gear for 10% off using Combat Arcade as the code at checkout. That gives a little bit of dosh my way as well. So thank you so much and have a good week.